Rishi Sunak is reportedly considering an urgent review of sex education materials in schools, which have been called age inappropriate. The evidence presented to the Prime Minister was collected by the New Social Covenant Unit think tank. It alleges that children are exposed to unsuitably sexually explicit teaching resources and contested gender ideology, which is presented as facts. So I'm asking, should there be an inquiry, and should these sorts of things be taught to children? So back with me to debate this is my political panel, political commentator Emma Webb and the editor-in-chief of About Time magazine, Angelica Malin. Angelica, do you think it's appropriate for schools to be teaching things like gender transition or gender fluidity, or that your gender is assigned at birth to young children?
Well, I think it's a very nuanced and difficult topic, and there's a lot of detail within it. I think what should be done is an independent body that is charged with coming into schools and delivering sex education, which is backed by research and campaigns and understanding of objectives. And I think it should be consistent among schools and not a varied curriculum between different schools. And I think more thought needs to go into it. And it's not just overworked teachers who are tired at the end of the day delivering these classes, but an independent body that can deliver them. I think that would be very important. And also age review. So one of the things that was flagged in this story was that it was from the ages of 8 and 9, which perhaps is too young to be teaching this kind of content. So I think a review into what kind of age is appropriate to start teaching sex education. But I do think it's important to have a well-rounded and balanced approach with these things, and for children to understand the reality of the world that they're living in, and a compassionate and understanding of people's different ideologies.
Emma, it's not just a case of one school doing this, teaching essentially ideology as fact or gender ideology as fact. There seem to be, every day, there seems to be another story about a school where inappropriate teachings are going on. What do you think? Is it time for a proper inquiry?
Well, this is a point that has been made many, many times, going back months, years even. Kemi Badenoch made this point in relation to critical race theory being taught in schools, that schools are teaching contested ideology as fact. And now, obviously, this is the case within what has become the gender debate or the transgender debate. I think this research from the New Social Covenant Unit is hugely welcome. I think that it would be absolutely right for this to be subject to some kind of public inquiry. But I also think that while such an inquiry is taking place, they need to halt whatever is being taught currently, because this is actually a safeguarding concern, and that's the fundamental point of this research. And Miriam Cates, MP, I think, is absolutely right in calling on Rishi Sunak to do something about this, and I think he needs to act on this urgently, because, as I say, this is a safeguarding concern. One of the in the Telegraph report on this, one of these age inappropriate lessons included teaching 9-year-old students about masturbation. We've seen a story in this last week in the Isle of Man of a drag queen teaching students this uncontested, and some people would probably say mad idea, that there are 73 genders. So there is a lot going on at the moment within schools, with the teaching of these contested ideologies, and I think we need to seriously look at the way that external providers are also being brought in on this. So the issue is actually, and this is Miriam Cates's point, that the Department for Education cannot be the people who investigate this, because actually the problem is with their 2019 guidance itself. So I think this needs to be looked at extremely urgently.
I mean, Angelica, I certainly agree with you, Emma, that it should be looked at urgently if this sort of thing is now commonplace, which it seems to be. Angelica, I think a lot of parents watching now, or grandparents watching now, would be horrified if they knew that their children were going to school and having a drag queen come in and teach their kids that there are 73 genders. I mean, it has gone too far, surely. This isn't progressive anymore. This is radical.
I think we have to be careful of there being one example of something within one school that happened and parents were distressed about it, and taking that and saying this is happening all over the country, we should take this urgent action, and getting people, whipping people into a frenzy. And these stories are often far and few between. In that instance, I don't want to comment personally on what I think about that, but that if parents are unhappy, that should be dealt with independently. But I think, being careful that we're not just saying this is some kind of woke agenda, and the language that we're using around this kind of education, there is a place that is more compassionate and understanding, and is important. It's important to understand the world that we're living in, and how children going out into that world, the kind of people they're going to interact with. So I think having a balanced sex education, I know when I was at school that it was a very lacking sex education. It was barely taught at all, and it was a kind of head in the sand approach, and that I don't think is any better. So I agree. I think an investigation is important, and then an independent review. And I think there's also a space where parents have a say in the curriculum as well, and how that's handled.
See, I think a lot of parents would prefer a sort of back to basics, birds and the bees kind of sex education, and for everything else to be left to parents who know their children best. But I could see your argument there, Angelica. But thank you very much for both of you for joining me today for today's political panel. Emma Webb, political commentator, and Angelica Maiden, who is the editor-in-chief at About Time magazine. Thank you very much indeed. Now we've got a comment from a Department for Education spokesman who has said, "We have made relationships, sex and health education a compulsory part of the school curriculum to help young people to make informed decisions about their well-being, health and relationships. Schools must make sure all content they use is factual and age-appropriate, and engage with parents so they are aware of what their children are being taught." And Dame Rachel D'Souza, the Children's Commissioner, said, "There is no doubt that the duty to protect children from harmful or inappropriate content, both online and offline, is of paramount importance. But it is just as important that they are given the knowledge and skills they need to navigate the world around them and make sensible, informed judgments. That's why we must put their views and voices at the heart of how RSHE is taught, while also making sure that parents and carers are given reassurances about what they are learning." Well, I think a lot of parents watching this would like to know what their children are being taught and whether they can have a say in it. If you're going to make sex education compulsory, you have to make it applicable to all, I think, anyway.